Hi there, it's Miracle, and today I'm going to review two books that I recently read, and it is part of my project of reviewing all the books on the long list of Women's Prize for Fiction. And the two books that I'm going to talk about today is Circe and the #1 Chinese Restaurant. So without further ado, let's get started. The first book I'm going to talk about is Circe by Madeline Miller. I don't think I need to introduce this book a lot because this book was super hyped on BookTube even before it came out. This is a Greek mythology retelling of the goddess life Circe. She's a goddess that we know partly from the Odyssey and partly from some other mythologies. Circe was a goddess who kept Odysseus for a year on her island called Aiaia before he was kept by Calypso for 7 years. The story started from Circe's childhood, the years before and after she went to her island Aiaia, and how and why she went to the island, and also some other stories around Circe's life. Before I went into this book, I was pretty nervous because basically I am a mythology newbie. I only read the Odyssey last year and that was it. I don't have some extra information in my head. But after I reading it, I found it is very newbie friendly. This book didn't require you to have a lot of background information, and as newbie as myself, I found it very enjoyable. However, there are parts that I got lost in all the names and their stories when they are introduced suddenly together, but I don't think it matters a lot. Nothing major, just a very short period of time, and I will talk about it more detailed later. I think this book can be read as a coming-of-age story from the perspective of a goddess. I really liked how this book humanized the gods and goddess. Maybe because when I read the Odyssey, I found that gods and goddesses, they have the ability to change humans' life, and they can do that in a snap. However, they like to observe humans and guide them instead of doing the things by themselves. And in this novel, maybe because it shows the mental struggles of the gods and goddess, so make me feel more closer to them, or maybe because I have more understanding of how gods and goddesses, they like to play human beings but not play with human beings. So I think I could understand that more. And the author also makes Circe a very lively character instead of just a goddess who has power way beyond human beings. So I like that a lot. However, one thing that came with a coming-of-age story is that the pacing was very even. You don't have the parts that are particularly very intense and the parts which are very on the opposite. You have a story with the same pacing throughout the whole book. So because of that, I think depends on your interest of Circe's life, you will have different reading experiences and your unique highs and lows. For example, I only know the story of Odysseus, so when he came into the story, my interest was increased significantly. Other than that, two things was portrayed by this book very well. Firstly, it shows that in Greek mythology or in ancient historical world, no matter if you are a goddess or a woman, you are treated as a piece of object to the male figures. This is not something that Circe understood from the beginning. It was rather something that she learned over the thousands years of her life, and you followed her awakening of this fact. Before she realized this, the struggle she had or the insecurity of hers were described so well. Also, I like how all the genders play roles in Circe's awakening, and we don't just get a cheesy story with how a male helped a female to develop her independency. Under the same condition, I liked Circe's emotions towards different characters. For example, I like her confused but rather unconditional love towards her father and her siblings, and also some of her friends and lovers. The second thing that I think was portrayed very well was that the conflicts between different gods and their power struggles. This also fell into the humanized gods and goddess category, and I really enjoyed it for that. But this is also the part where I got lost in so many names and stories, but I don't think it matters. As long as you got the whole idea of what is happening, you will be fine. So overall, I really enjoyed my reading experiences with Circe, and I would recommend it to the people who liked a good mythology retelling or who liked a good coming-of-age story. And please don't be scared away if you think you don't have enough knowledge of Greek mythology, and it is very, very friendly to read. And the second book I'm going to talk about is #1 Chinese Restaurant by Lilian Li. This is a family drama extended to the members who are not only in the families but also who are families' close friends. The story was talking about a group of people who worked at a restaurant called The Duck House, which is a restaurant that sells Peking ducks, and it is my favorite food in the entire world. The restaurant was founded by Father Han, who has now passed away, and his 2 sons inherited the restaurant. There are also a couple of workers that worked here for many decades, so now they're not only just workers but also the family friends. However, the younger son in the family, Jimmy, had another dream that was open a high-end Chinese restaurant, and the whole story evolved from here. Overall, this book got me very frustrated. I could tell how this book wanted to cover a variety of topics. For example, the gap between the first generation and the second generations of Chinese immigrations, and how the younger generations try their best to prove themselves, to prove their independence by rebuild the family's glory, and also how hard was people chasing their American dreams. And in some point, I figure maybe there's a mystery going on. There are a couple things described the working life and the situations in the kitchen of the Chinese restaurant, and I found those descriptions are very interesting. I have never had experiences of working in a restaurant before, but the conflicts between the workers and some of their behaviors made sense for me. However, that was just a very short period of time that I found the book was interesting. Like I mentioned before, I did not enjoy this book. And it is very funny because in the middle of reading it, I kept wondering how a book has more than 10 characters and none of them are likable and none of them are relatable. I don't think that we need to like the characters in order to like the book, but almost all the characters in this book was despicable and very selfish, and it is very hard to make connections with a book if the characters were like this. And a lot of the plots in this book didn't make any sense. A lot of times when characters do a certain behavior, their only intention was to twist the plot. And the plot wasn't supporting the character's personality if they had one, and the plots and twists are very forced and very awkward, and they are not strong enough. And also my biggest problem with the book is that it has so many cliches. For example, it tried to explore some traditional Chinese value by making characters to wash feet for other people, for example, their mothers and the people they liked. This is such a cliche and even a stereotypical behavior that I don't want to see anymore in any kind of media in the future. And I don't really understand. I get that this action was supposed to stand for deeply caring, and it is true maybe to some people in some situation and in maybe decades or even hundreds of years ago, but it is not suitable for this book, especially when it is a contemporary novel, not a historical fiction. And it is creepy and it just please don't. There are also some other passages that I found was cliche. For example, every time when the characters are getting insecure, they started to concern about their Chinese accent. I am so tired of plots like this, and please catch up with time. And again, this book was supposed to be a contemporary novel. The mother figure in this book was very flat. They are either tiger moms or the moms who loved their children too much. And there's one mom whose behavior was very stiff, and I can feel that my face was twisting every time she appears. So to sum up, I did not enjoy this book at all. I give this book 2 stars because 1 star I will give the book who I hate, but I don't think this book was hateful, it's just not a really good book. And I thought about the benefit when I have about 20% left, but since I only have 20% left, I thought maybe I will give the ending a try, and the ending was very disappointed as well. It was very rushed and very unbelievable. I do appreciate the topics of the books, which it try to explore the lives in Chinese restaurant and try to explore more of first generation and the second generation's immigrations. But I could not enjoy a book just because it's good intentions. And that's it for my review for Circe and the #1 Chinese restaurant. I'm really glad that Circe stand up to the hype and I really enjoy it, and I am disappointed to the #1 Chinese restaurant, as you can tell. If you have any thoughts about the 2 books that I mentioned or about any books in general, or you may just want to say hi, please leave a comment down below in the comment section and I will Talk to you in my next bookish video. Thanks a lot for watching and happy reading. Bye!